number of years, and he has a lot of things to show us tonight. So I'm going to turn it right over to him so we don't run out of time, and we'll get started. I know he will want you to ask questions, so we'll do that too. Okay?
Thank you. This is going to be kind of loose and fast, so if you have a question or comment, just raise your hand. I'll just call on it. That'll just help me out. Started in March of 1978. Ooh, am I old? That's when I started. I was still at Purdue University. I came down to only one to go like this. I don't have my glasses on. Let's see. Let me pick on you. Stand on a second. What I want you to do is walk through me here. All right?
What do you do? Hand like on a veil or something?
Yep.
Put a hand over.
And then I want to go get him, right? I can't be locked into this thing. Now, can I?
Maybe.
You can sit down. Thanks a lot.
He didn't even put a hand over.
That's something they don't teach in school. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of hard work.
And that was the Zoom button for?
Yeah. But if you don't know what door they're coming out of the courtroom, courthouses usually have 4 sides in Indiana. And unless you're on real good terms with the police that are bringing out the suspect, if they don't want you to find them, they're going to do everything they can to make sure that you don't. They've even sent decoys out on us. We've even had 3 doors. This was before Channel 59 did news. 6, 8, and 13 each had a door, and they came out the 4th door, and we didn't know until it was too late because they didn't want us to get the suspect. So the zoom lens doesn't work off of this if you're trying to chase somebody down. Any questions so far? Anybody can do this, right, Tom? Okay. Camera, this one in particular is a digital Betacam. We shoot digital tape. This camera is, I think, 3 years old. Half-inch tape. No big deal. You can pass around and take a look if you want. We shoot on 32-minute tapes. We used to shoot on 20-minute when they were oxide tapes. The camera has, I think it's a 14:1 zoom. Okay. Look at me. What's your name? David? David,
Yeah.
don't move your head, all right? I can fill the screen with a postage stamp size image. You know when kids get in school after they've graduated from high school and you see that little black and white picture, you know, that John Doe, you know, shot somebody on the school grounds but he had already graduated? You know how small those pictures are probably, right? I can fill the screen with one of those. It's not necessarily all this glass that's in here, you have to know how to use it. This is what we call an extender. If you want to get that MTV effect, you do one of these numbers. You'll see them do this in concerts every once in a while. It's kind of a cool effect. It's something that the photographer can do without having the director have to do it. The way we work, I go into work every day and not knowing necessarily, probably 75% of the time I go to work not knowing what story I'm going to do that day or what stories I may be doing that day or who I'll be working with or where I'll be going. We have a meeting and the producers and such sit around and say, this is kind of what's on the table from faxes or press releases, or it was a shooting the day before, so now the guy's going to go to court, so there's certain things already in the hopper, so to speak. So then it'll be, okay, Ken, you're going to go with Tom. David, you're going to go with somebody else, okay? They give us the assignment and we go. So if the assignment's in Bloomington, if you leave at 9 o'clock in the morning, it's got to be on at 5 o'clock at night, all right? So here's how it works. You leave 9 o'clock in the morning to get to Bloomington. It takes an hour and a half to get where you're going. It's going to take an hour and a half to get back. That's 3 hours out of your day. So between 9 and 5, okay, you've got 8 hours, right? my math working here, 8 hours?
Yeah.
Okay? So out of that 8 hours, you've already lost 3 hours just getting it there and back. So you have 5 hours to put the story together. If it takes you an hour, the general rule that I've come by, when we edit a story before it goes on the air, for every minute that's on the air, it roughly takes 1 hour to put that minute together. That's a good thumbnail of what it takes. Some stories will take less time, some will take more. Most of the stories that I've got to show you, took more because they were more creative than Johnny went to school today, you know, it was his first day of school, this is the teacher, this is the principal, Johnny went home, okay? Those stories you can edit in about 20 minutes. All right, so you've got 3 hours taken out in drive time, excuse me, an hour to put 1 minute on the air. So let's say they want 2-minute story, okay? You've got 5 hours down the drain already. It gives you 3 hours to shoot it, write it, and if you're lucky, get an hour's lunch, okay? So you go to Bloomington, you spend an hour shooting it, you go to lunch, reporter comes back, spends an hour between looking at the tape to get the sound bites, you know, people are talking, writing it, they hand it off to me, and then I've got, you know, whatever time's left over before 5 o'clock to get it done. If I get it at 4:30, I have a half an hour to get that on the air, like it or not. Some of you are looking at me like, you're kidding. If it's a lead story at 5 o'clock, I have to have it on the air, lead story at 5 o'clock, no matter what. There may be a lot of long scenes of kids walking around campus at Bloomington. It may not be what I wanted it to look like, but it's on the air. That's all that matters when you're doing news. It's got to be on the air. Secondary to that is, you know, the facts have got to be correct. The reporter's got to get the facts right. If we're talking about David over there, and I'm showing Tom, and David got in trouble, and Tom didn't, we're going to be in trouble legally. That's something on a general day-to-day you don't have to worry about. But you have to get it on the air, and it has to be factually right and visually right. Other than that, we pretty much have carte blanche. We can do whatever we want with the stories. We can have fun with them. If it's, you know, now somebody got murdered. If it's a story about like this group here, we could do it real serious, or we can have a little fun with it. Like have one of you guys maybe pick up the camera and do a stand-up with somebody else and actually put that in the story. Anybody want to guess what this weighs? Change subjects here.
50 pounds. 30. 60.
Here.
70.
I don't know your name. Come on up here.
His name's Dustin.
Come on up here.
Put it on under. You break it, you bought it.
Face down. Face down. Yeah. Come right in front of me. Now,
Don't get too much.
you can't say whether this is heavy or light. Okay? All right. There's a reason I'm going to do that. There, you got it? That's $35,000 if you drop it. Hang on 1 second. There. That won't be overexposed to the main fires. Where's level? Show me level. Use the shelves in the background. Get the picture level. Looks like you're out to sea here. That's pretty good. Okay. Let me take it back from you. Don't go anywhere. Same thing for you. Can't say whether it's heavy or light. Help him with the right hand. Right over there. It's kind of like the idiot strap. It wraps around your hand, so if you do trip or whatever, you're not going to lose the camera. Find level. Yeah, let's see. A little bit like that, maybe. What do you think, guys? Gal? Which way? Which way looks better? I'm messing with you. All right, why don't you guys sit down a second? So what do you think? Heavy or light? Light. This thing weighs about 10 pounds. This is what I call doggy cam. I'm sorry. That's what you can do when this thing doesn't weigh a whole lot. You can do MTV stuff. I actually shot a piece one time on a band like this. I won't do it now because I've got it hooked up to the cable here and I'll probably drop it. Actually flipped the camera one rotation and it worked because it was so light. That's all it takes to... No, you had your hand up. You!
I didn't.
You! I said, there's any questions? You went like that. Oh, you just want to be on TV. Huh?
What would be a stupid question? 2 plus 2.
There isn't one. I told you.
I think that question.
Go ahead.
How do you guys go about licensing like music and stuff? When you use it for like opening, you like come on the air or something? How do you guys license the music?
Most of the music that we use, we buy. I don't know exactly where it's from, but there's companies that make music that sounds like stuff that you know. You know, like there's stuff that sounds like marching bands, or stuff that sounds like the Star Spangled Banner, or something that sounds like a 1950s classic, you know, Chuck Berry sort of guitar thing. We buy those, and by buying those for a year or however many years we're allowed to use those, we can use that every single day, every newscast, every single story if we want to, because we paid for it. Now there's one piece in here that I'm going to show you that I'll give you the long explanation later on because I need to set the story up. But it was a song by Emerson, Lake and Palmer, if you ever heard of them. We didn't have the rights to that, and we don't subscribe to either BMI or ASCAP licensing like the radio stations do. So for them to run this story that I put together, that I had not intended to go on the air, I did it for myself, they had to spend $1,000 to play it. That meant a lot to me because they were spending $1,000 on something for me to put it on the air. But basically, like the News Open, you know, the Indiana Zone thing, we had somebody do a version of Indiana Zone, or Back Home Again in Indiana, I'm sorry, I forgot what we call it, for the News Open. All the music in the news show was specifically written for us. But then a lot of the other stuff, like on, like if you watch any of the community affairs shows, or if there's like your announcements here, you see those on the air, or like when we do school closings and you hear some kind of music, that's all that stuff that's on CD that we paid for.
You mentioned subscription companies at the radios. Is that how they?
Yeah, they pay, I don't know how much it is per year or per month to BMI and ASCAP, the main labels, you know, for the artists. And then I think the radio station also had to pay, you know, like anywhere from a penny to nickel or something every time they play a song. And, you know, computers have made it easier for them to keep track of it. It used to be somebody had to actually sit there and write down what every song that played, so they could make sure the right people got paid. Do you have questions, or just scratching your head? Okay. All right, if I can get this right, this isn't my remote control. We're going to see if we can get this. This first story, if it'll work.
Break my pencil.
Let's see. How did we do this before? I forgot how we did this. It was so long ago.
Right, I think if we'll get video 1 or 2, what is it for this one?
This is on video too, so this is video 1. Oh, okay.
See that?
All right, this first story here, we had some fun with. The story behind the story, what we were given, Cor Harlan and I were given, a fax news release that said some guy in New York City filed a class action lawsuit against Wendys, McDonald's, Burger King, and Kentucky Fried Chicken because he got fat eating their food and he thought the food was good for him. So he expects millions and millions of dollars from these 4 companies because he's fat. So Cora and I are driving down to a place where we know there's like 6 or 8 restaurants in one building, okay, a food court. And I said, Cora, how are we going to do this? Are we going to do this straight? because I've worked with Cord enough to know that he likes to have fun if we can. I said, we're going to do this straight or we're going to have some fun with it. He said, we're going to have some fun with it. That's all I needed to know. Okay? And the story that you're about to see, I shot specifically, you say we because he was with me, in about 25 or 30 minutes. That's all the time that it took to shoot this, to get all the elements and then some of what you're about to see. Okay? The magic of videotape, here it is.
Steve Walters and Tim Davila are heading upstairs with hamburgers. It's quick work through biggie fries and a Wendy's burger. These two men are the culinary risk takers of our age.
Maybe he was driving differently. I wouldn't have to be here either. So I learned then, I'd been in business maybe 2 years. I learned right then, you go to an accident, you go to a fire, you shoot it, boom, get out of there if you can. Unless you have to stay there because they're sending a live truck or they're sending a reporter or something. In and out. Most accidents, cops don't have the information gathered yet to tell you who was in what car and how many people are injured and all that stuff anyway. So there's no sense for me spending more than 10 minutes at an accident scene because it's going to be an hour or an hour and a half before the cop can tell us John Smith was in this car, Mary Jones was in this car, so-and-so was in this other car, and he caused the wreck. And he's getting arrested for drunk driving. It's going to take him a while to figure all that out. I also learned how to make best friends with state police. If you should ever end up, even for a school project, shooting state troopers in particular, some of the sheriff's departments have the same flat brim hats. State police are required to wear those anytime they're out of the vehicle. In the middle of summer, when they get out to cover an accident that they know they're going to be outside for like 3 hours in the hot sun, they like to take those off. I was walking up to one cop one day just to ask him what, I'd already shot all the video I needed. Didn't even get a chance to say, hey, can I talk to you? He saw me, he reached in the car for the hat, and by that time it made another 6 feet closer. This is funny to me, it may not be funny to you. I said, I'm not going to show your face on television. You don't have to put the hat on. He came out of the car, his smile was this big. I was his best friend. I was not going to get him in trouble with the sergeant, lieutenant, captain, major, whoever might have seen that, including the superintendent. I would have been on the phone that day. I want Trooper so-and-so's on the phone with me first thing in the morning explaining to me why he didn't have his hat on Channel 8. And that guy's going to hate Channel 8 the rest of his career. Little things you pick up. So if you're ever out somewhere with a video camera, don't shoot the state police, whether you're involved in the accident or not. Next one, it's a long, what we call a magazine piece. It's like what you would see on Dateline or 60 Minutes, those kind of shows. We got access to Crane Naval Weapon Depot down in southern Indiana. The second largest naval base, even though it's in Indiana, the second largest naval base in the United States. They make bullets and bombs and stuff down there. And they test them. And they take weaponry that maybe isn't working or it's been working for years and they'll tweak it and they'll make it work even better. That's the kind of stuff they do down there. Well, they hadn't let a television station down there in about 15 or 20 years. They let us in. Now granted, we didn't get to, I wanted to see them putting the, the shells together and all that kind of stuff. No. This was before 9/11 and they still weren't going to let us do it. But we did get pretty good access anyway. So this is what you can do when you've got all kinds of time to shoot and all kinds of time to edit. It is playing.
In fact, you'd be surprised at what happens at Crane. The mission is simple. Since World War II, the people of Crane store, repair, and develop weapons. From explosives to machine guns to radar systems, it's all here. And the 3,700 people who work at Crane have one goal in mind.
Our primary mission is to support the warfighter. that's our family that we're talking about out there. Our cousins, our brothers.
Army outfit is usually in another section that's all Army related. We never were allowed over there. That's where they were blowing up stuff other than we saw the black smoke at the beginning of the first one. That's the only thing that they blew up for us. The van being blown up was a tape that they showed me. This is how things can work. We arrived at Crane and everybody's like, ooh, Debbie Knox, okay? And I'm standing there going, okay, I'm just along for the ride, that's fine. You know, you guys all ooh and ah over Debbie. I got to figure out what we're doing here. You know, it's my job to make this look good. And you're working with Debbie or Mike Aher, and you really wanted to make it look good, because otherwise it comes back on you, not necessarily directly, but when they ask not to work with you, as opposed to, can I work with so-and-so, it makes a big difference. So these guys are oohing and ahhing over Debbie, and one guy makes some offhand comment about something that they just shot where they blew up this vehicle the other day. I'm like, what? You got the tape? Sure. Takes me around the corner. Debbie doesn't even know that I walked away from her because she's talking to the other guy. He shows me this tape of this van getting blown up. I'm like, can we get a copy of this? You know, didn't ask Debbie's permission. Didn't ask the people who were in charge of, you know, our visit. This guy's showing me the tape. Can we get a copy of this? That's all. That's the way I operate. I was like, yeah, sure. That's how we got it. Had it been a situation where I stood next to Debbie, or I was the kind of a photographer who doesn't ask things that most people don't ask, you know, another photographer would have stood there and looked at it and gone, oh, that's cool, and walked away and not asked, can we get a copy of it? One of the things I'm most proud with this story, these two stories, Debbie actually asked me to sit with her and help her write this. She said, you know what all the pictures are, you know what all the net sound is, sit and write this with attention. The first one, you know, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're waiting for something to happen, nothing happens, and then boom, something happens. Second one, what are we going to do to get their attention? And I'm thinking about this tape. I'm thinking, how can we work this tape in? And I said to Debbie, as if we run this piece of tape, we can say, this is not a terrorist bombing. That's where the line came from. I came up with it, no big deal, you know. She's like, ooh, and then boom, she's like she was on speed or something. She just wrote a whole bunch of stuff because it gave her a place to start. It gave her a focus. And then from there, all the stuff that she had trying to figure out where to go with it, it all just went boom, down. Pieces like this, a normal day, all those little things like the little boom or the little, you know, with the forklift, with the shells, those green shells were this big. All those little, we call them net sound breaks. That's usually the first thing that gets sacrificed if the thing is too long. As photographers, we don't like that, but that's how it works. So these, it was pretty much, we cut them, we told them it's 4.5 minutes long, like it or not, that's as long as it's going to stay because it's Debbie's story. So it's kind of cool when you can do that. Yeah?
Have you ever done,
I'm sorry?
have you ever done a police chase from a helicopter?
No. I prefer not to be in those things so they don't have wings on them. When we got our, I've been in helicopters, I don't care for them. Part of my fear of heights and part of my claustrophobia is all right there. I've been in a number of those ones you see now, usually only in the movies, those clear bubble ones, the real small ones. State police used to have those, and whenever they found a field of marijuana, it's like, hey, you guys want to go up in a helicopter and see this? It's like, sure, and you're sitting there in the front bubble, it was, you know, over it a couple times and you're done. Our helicopter, we got the helicopter, every photographer had to go up in a helicopter at least once, whether you wanted to or not. I don't like helicopters, I've never liked helicopters, I probably never will like helicopters, unless I'm somewhere and the thing rescues me, then maybe I'll like them. But as transportation, forget it. So I had to go up, and you know, met Keith, our pilot, who's a great guy, he's a good pilot, and we just agreed to disagree all morning. You know, I said, I don't like these things. Well, why not? I said, when the motor dies, you drop like a stone. And he's telling me about this auto rotation thing where they change the direction of the blades, and if you get enough downforce, it spins it enough so you don't, you know, slam into the ground. I said, Keith, I don't want to hear this. I said, if you've got wings, you can glide. Well, if you lose the lift under it, I said, yeah, and what's the likelihood of that as opposed to a helicopter? I said, don't bother telling me about auto-rotating. I said, I don't want to be up in this thing. So I didn't have to go up in it again. Because they can't make you do something like that. Because, you know, God forbid something happens to me, Paula's going to be a real rich widow over there, and it's going to be Paula TV. It's not going to be Wish TV any longer. She'll own it. Because I didn't want to go up there, and enough people would have heard me say I did not want to be up in it. So they forced me to do something I didn't want to, and I got killed doing it. They're liable. Now, if I say, oh, I want to go up in a helicopter, or, oh, I want to go out to the track, and you get run over in the pits. Yeah.
Have you ever had to do a piece on animal or something?
I'm sorry, animals?
Yeah, like what kind of?
We did, I used to do the investigative stuff a few years back. We did a whole series on people who would like go to an auction. Can I give you a little bit? This lady who was in her 60s went to an auction around Fort Wayne and bought a black bear cub. Cute as could be, black as you can imagine, real soft hair. We go up to talk to her about it. She's got it in a dishwasher box in, you know, cardboard box in the kitchen. This thing is clawing through the cardboard. She had up and down her arms and on her neck and on her face claw marks from this cute, fuzzy little bear that she bought for like $900. We did a whole series of reports on people that, you know, I mean, she basically admitted she screwed up, but she couldn't get rid of it now. Nobody wants it because it was a bear that was born in captivity, and you can't turn around and let it loose because it's used to being around people. People would buy tiger cubs, lion cubs, cougars, leopards. There's a place out in Brazil if you can get one or more of your teachers to take the class out there. It's really a neat place. It's Exotic Feline Rescue Center. The guy has more animals of what he has: lions, tigers, no bears, lions, tigers, cougars, leopards, a couple others. Than probably any.
Cheetahs?
Maybe. But what he has, he probably has more of than any zoo in the United States. And most of them are, he gets a call from like a police department. We went in this guy's house. You know, he got arrested for drugs. And oh, by the way, there's 3 tiger cubs. What can we do with them? And he'll take them. He doesn't sell them. He doesn't turn around, train them and make his own circus. He doesn't sell them to zoos. He just takes care of them till they die. If they have babies, fine. If not, fine. He just loves the animals. But that was something with animals where we were literally in the lion cage one day. Now this guy, I think his name's Joe, I forgot now. He's about this tall and about like this. Reminds me of my older brother, but we, the reporter Neil Moore and I, were out there when they were just kind of wandering around with Joe with a wireless mic on him, and he was talking about the lions. He said, well, come on in here. Well, you go in the lion pen, which is probably the size of this entire room, and I think it was Cleo was the alpha male. Gorgeous, you know, big mane and everything, you know, huge. And he's like up on this man-made sort of cave sort of a thing, you know, so they got different heights in there. And he's up there, and Joe walks in, and I'm right behind him with the camera, and all of a sudden I realize I'm in an area like this. I can't go sideways, because it's a real narrow gateway. So we're standing there, and Neil's like behind me. The 3 of us walk in there, and we're just shooting the interview with Joe, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden I get the feeling I kind of go like this. Cleo's come over. Cleo wants to see what's going on. Cleo wants to say hello to us. And this guy, this big, takes his arm around the neck of this lion like this, and he's wrestling to hold him. He wasn't going to hurt us. Joe just didn't want him to like come too close to us where we might have like done one of these, and then he might have, you know, just instinctively taken a swipe at us. Pretty cool stuff.
Do you guys use those cameras where you can like stand like really long ways away, but it looks like you're right beside the person?
Well, you kind of got an idea what this one will do. And we don't have like what they do when they shoot the rockets or the shuttle up, you know, where it's like 20 miles down range and still filling the frame. Those lenses are like longer than my arms will stretch out. It's a lot of glass. But like this, you know, I can shoot you coming in. I can shoot you coming in and out of your house from about 2 blocks away. You would never know it, and the folks at home will be able to see you down to probably what brand of jeans you're wearing. Provided it's not, you know, 3 o'clock in the morning or raining. But if there's any kind of daylight at all, or even a street light, where like it lights up, you know, your driveway or something, you're mine. By the way, don't anybody get in trouble with the courts and have me show up. I'm the worst guy in the world that you want to get in trouble with, because I am going to get you on television. If you did something wrong according to the law, I'm going to get you on TV, because that's my job that day.
If you're under 18 though, you can't video their face or anything, can you? And air it. No, you can't like only video.
Well, that's a whole can of worms that cannot easily be explained.
Yeah.
Like, we come into the school and have permission to shoot like this class, kids walking up and down the hall, and then we get a call from somebody, your mom says, my son was on TV, I didn't give permission. Well, the school did.
Yeah. Well, I mean like legal issues, like
No,
walking out of the court or
yeah,
something.
if you're going to the juvenile center on the east side of Indianapolis, we won't even see you generally. And if by some chance we got lucky and actually got you going in, because I would know that you were you more than likely until the reporter looked at the tape later on and said, oh, that's so-and-so, but because you're under 18 then we'd have to blur your face or block your face or just not use the video at all. Can I answer your question?
Yeah, yeah.
Have you ever been hurt hearing?
Yes.
What do you have?
I'm sorry? I've been hurt. This is the best story I can give you. I'm up in the Muncie courthouse with Jim Shellitz, about 1988-ish, somewhere near. We'd gone up there to do a story on what I don't remember. But the story wasn't there. People weren't there, the story had changed. We didn't have a story. We were literally standing 20 feet from the elevators on the 2nd or 3rd floor of the Muncie courthouse. We just talked to the prosecutor off camera, and what we wanted to talk to him about, you know, was no longer a story that day. We're standing there. Guy comes out of the elevator in a blue polyester suit, back when they were popular. An older guy. The only guy to even come off the elevators, much less in a polyester suit. Jim turns to me. I knew who he was talking about when he said this, but I'd never seen the guy. He said, you see who just came off the elevator? I don't have that tape anymore. What I did, what I'm going to tell you is exactly what happened. I didn't say a word to Jim. I turned the camera on. Walked down the hall, spotted a guy in an office, started to roll the tape, standing in the hallway about this distance. He's in the office, I'm in the hallway, public building. He's over 18 also. I have not said a word to this guy. I didn't go running down the hall that he even knew I was there. I am literally standing, I didn't have glasses back then. I'm standing there like this. You know, there you are. You're in the office, no problem. Oh, you spotted me, I'm still shooting you. I don't think the guy's going to do anything. He goes to close the door. Well, the secretary had one of those little rubber door stops in the door, so he couldn't close the door. So this is what I see. Can I use a mild profanity here?
I guess.
Okay.
Justin Smith,
I
please
got
come
caught.
to room 217. Justin Smith to room 217.
So he spots me standing in the hallway. I don't even have a light on the camera, nothing. I'm just standing there. He just assumes, of course, that I'm taking his picture because he doesn't know that I am. There are tally lights on the fronts of these. And if you notice when I roll the tape, here's the light. Where's the light? There's a light in the back. Where's the light? turn the doggone thing off. I don't know what the switch is on the front. There it is. There's the tally light. That's what you see in the movies all the time. There's low, there's off, there's high. I don't need to let people know I'm shooting them, do I? I don't think so. It's my job to take people's picture, right? Whether you're a good guy, bad guy, or otherwise. You're in a public building, I'm in a public building. You're in an office, I'm in a hallway. What's it to you? You don't want to be on TV. So I'm standing like where you guys are, okay? Just standing all by myself. It's not like classes have changed or courts are changed. Nobody in the hallway but me. I don't even know where Jim is because I just walked away from him. I didn't even think, is Jim standing with me? Is he down the hall? Not my concern. I have a function here. I have to get you on TV. This guy, he's talking with the secretary. He sees me. He goes like this. The door won't close because of the door stop. He gives it like one more try, and he comes at me like a bull. You son of a bitch. Get that GD camera off me. Bam! He slams me against the wall. I'm shooting like this, and all of a sudden, I won't do this hard, but bam, I hit the wall. Of course, I'm rolling. That's all I'm taking. The camera never blinks, it needs to do. That's why you don't want me on the bad side of you. Get the whole thing on tape. He's got me against the wall. He's swearing at me. And with his free hand, now granted, I've got the camera on my shoulder with one hand here, and the other one just instinctively is on the lens to focus an iris, right? Just to be absolutely sure that we don't target knocker. Oh, yeah. I forgot how we did it.
This video one.
So I can get the picture back here.
We'll put your camera on 1 or 2.
2. Here we go. Okay? So I'm shooting you here in the hallway, right? Right? And he comes at me. I do one of these. Okay? And instinctively, my hand is here. Because either I'm going to focus, like when he gets closer, obviously I got to change focus, or I got to iris up or down. So my hands are all tied up right here. I'm against the wall. I don't want to scratch this nice wood. I'm against the wall. I'm still rolling. He puts a manila folder up. This is my eye, buddy. This isn't fair. He puts the manila folders up there. So my free hand, I go and I slap at those to get them out of the way so I can see, the camera can see, the world can see what the hell's going on. I do that, he goes, get your hands off my file, and all of a sudden he disappears. I'm against the wall, right? As far as I know, there's only he and I in the world at this point. There's nothing else going on in the entire world, except that this guy's got me up against the wall, and I don't know what's going to happen yet. But I'm not upset, I'm just rolling. I'm still kind of stunned. It's like, I'm here, I don't know what this guy's doing, but I'm not going to quit rolling tape. Slap his hand away, get your hands off my file, and boom, he disappears. So I quick go like this. The sheriff, who's not even in uniform, but this guy that attacked me, who's a lawyer, would know him. The sheriff drags him off of me, and then back into the room where the whole thing started. The sheriff goes to close the door because he's calm. He goes, shh, closes the door. Okay, I'm still rolling because it's like, are they going to come back out or what? At some point in the midst of all this, Jim Shella hears all the commotion, probably when I got slammed against the wall. I don't know where Jim has been. But the door closes, and I hear from over here, Jim say, are you all right? I haven't said a word since when Jim said go down the hall. Or not go down the hall, but you see the game off the elevator. I haven't said a word. Jim says to me, are you okay? And you have to really look at I had to look at the tape really close because I remember doing it, but I couldn't see it. The image shifts about 1/8 of an inch down, like yes. That's all I did. Still didn't say a word. I didn't get hurt, but we got called into court for disrupting the judge's courtroom because I got slammed up against the wall for taking somebody else's picture. The attorney didn't get called in. I was not happy. I wasn't hurt, but I was not happy. But that went on TV about 6 times. It was like, hey, you know, we went to Muncie today, and this is what happened to our photographer. So-and-so who's under indictment, you know, didn't like his picture being taken, slammed us against the wall, blah, blah, blah. And guess what? He's still under indictment.
They're always happy if you're showing a good side, but they're ready to be violent if it's the bad side.
If he'd either stood there or closed the door calmly, he probably wouldn't even have been on TV that day. We might have saved that footage for another day, like when he went to court and we couldn't go up to Muncie or something. He wouldn't have been on TV at all.
To ask you, I thought I heard that you were down with the tornadoes a couple of weeks ago, shooting some footage right in the middle of that. Is that, I mean, how'd that go for you? I mean, is that dangerous? Do they send you out to dangerous places
It's
like that
dangerous, it's
regularly?
fun, it's everything you don't want to do and everything you do want to do. They sent me down in that general direction. I was headed to the southwest side of Indianapolis for an accident that was supposed to be real bad. Well, nobody knew that these tornadoes were going to come. There was no warning for the most part. So I'm driving down this, and I'm hearing them send this photographer here, and this photographer here, and this photographer there. You know, rain's heavy, you know, reports of funnel clouds, and reports of funnel clouds usually people don't know what they're talking about. So at one point, I can't see, but 3 inches beyond the windshield, it's raining so hard. You ever been to like Florida? You know, those afternoon rains that come that are gone in like 10 minutes? I've never seen it rain this hard in Indiana in my life. I've been here 25 years. So I'm driving, and then it's like, the Y has been hit, this has been hit, this has been hit, and you know, we all have different unit numbers. I'm Unit 2. Unit 2, I need to go blah, blah, blah. Okay. So I start going due east to where the YMCA was, whatever you want to call it. And I'm driving, and I can see like medium gray clouds and then light gray below it. And I'm watching for the V to come down. As a news photographer, I want to get a tornado on tape. Unless you're out in Kansas, you usually don't have an opportunity to do that. So I'm driving, looking, come on, drop down, drop down, drop down. Most people wouldn't be thinking that. They'd be thinking, what the hell are you doing? What are you taking me a tornado for? None of us got it. But I get over there, and I've got a rain suit. My pants stayed dry. In about 15 seconds after I was out of the truck, my shoes and socks were soaked as if I'd been standing in a pool. It was raining so hard. I had a baseball hat on with a hood up, as close as it could get, and the rain was coming in between the snaps on the rain jacket. This thing had a nylon cover on it that's thinner than a piece of paper. It was supposed to be a rain cover. This thing got soaked, but good. But it still worked. Because for the most part, it's sealed. And it was a situation, you know, that thing stayed in the truck. I made the determination, I was by myself. Okay, I'm at a tornado aftermath. You know, there's a fire truck here. I can see already that there's just chaos. You know, it's not like all these people are standing around outside the Y going, Johnny's still in there, or, oh, we're all, you know, all the kids are here, we're soaking wet, we're waiting on the bus. It wasn't anything where it looked like I have time to use this thing. Pulled it out, threw it on the shoulder, started rolling, just started walking, shooting. Saw a fireman, tried to talk to him. He didn't want to be talked to because he wasn't the battalion chief and he might get in trouble. Talked to the battalion chief. All the time, these are the microphones I'm using. I'm just walking up to people. What happened? What happened? Watching out for nails and glass so it doesn't go through my feet. Pretty cool stuff. Pretty stupid stuff too, if you think about it. Walking around all this glass and stuff. You know, the wind's still blowing. It's raining like crazy. You can't really see where you're going. About 30 seconds out, even with this hood on it, the glass looked like a windshield that didn't have a windshield wiper. Everything had that fuzzy look. I can't fix that. It's raining too hard. I'm just capturing what's going on, finding people. You know, somebody from the Y. What happened? Well, we heard the alarm. We took the kids downstairs. Everybody's safe, but now we're over in this building. Great. The lady asked me, can you tell your people to go on the air to tell them that all the kids are okay? Sure, no problem. So I'm capturing the event. Everybody's fine, which is good. And now I'm going to help these people out by calling our people back and say, hey, They want everybody to know that the kids that were in the Y are fine. So at that point, you're like, wow, I'm actually helping somebody here instead of just taking pictures for a change.
Ken, before we run out of time, I
Oh.
have to ask, with all of this that you get to do, the responsibility that you have, what's your background? What does it take to get a
Okay.
job with a television studio?
Actually, nowadays, I'm not sure what it takes. College degree for sure. I went to Purdue. No booze for those of you who are IU fans. Went to Purdue, studied radio television, and about halfway through that, I realized I could take half a dozen classes more and get a second degree in film. So I have 2 degrees, radio, TV, and film from Purdue. The art class that I took, one art class I took for the film degree, I think taught me more about how to frame shots. That and we used to have to watch classic movies to see how the directors did things. Those 2 classes, I think, taught me to be a good photographer. So if you want to stay up late and watch like Citizen Kane or Das Boot, the original one in German, and your mom says, you can't stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning watching that Turner Classic. So the guy from Channel 8 said I should watch this if I want to be either a photographer or a movie person later on in life. You can learn more watching those than you can watching anything else. Most movies today, they're not made real good. Titanic, it's all about the boat and the people on it. People don't care about the boat. If you get a chance to watch True Lies, same director, James Cameron, as Titanic. Watch some of the camera angles. You're in a big room. Usually in a big room, you're like at eye level or above. He's got the camera down on the floor to make the room look even bigger. Make Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's what, 6 foot something, make him look like he's 8 foot tall. And then, when you have a chance, find out what the psychological ramifications are of camera angles. In a quick nutshell, straight on is neutral. I try and shoot all my interviews eye to eye with the person's 9 feet tall or 1.5 feet tall. Try and get the camera eye to eye. That way, whatever they say, there's nothing psychological about it. You shoot like this, to somebody, they're more important than they may be because of the psychology of it. You shoot down on a person, you minimize them. So if I'm shooting somebody who's, real short or sitting down, I get the camera down eye to eye. Unless there's some reason I can't do it. You want to see any more pieces? You got time? I'll roll them if you guys want to stay.
That's fine. I know some of you have to by 4 o'clock, but yes, if you'd like to show us what we'd like to see for those that...
Oh, we got to change this again. How we?
Okay.
Refresh video.
Okay. This one, if you've got like 3 minutes, I would like you to see. This is the one that they bought the rights to play the song. The quick story behind this is, it was like the beginning of December last year. I'm here in Indiana. There's nothing I can do. I've got all these feelings about 9/11. About the people that did it, the people that got affected by it here. I'm too old to join up to go try and find whatever his name is, Osama bin Laden. I got all this stuff in me, and I don't know what to do with it. And I had the CD in the car. And just one day I'm like, okay, I'm going to see if I can do something with this song. And what I did is I took some video that I had shot recently, some other stuff I'd shot a year or so before, the snow scenes, not the kids sledding, but you'll see like with the horse and stuff I'd shot the year before. There's network stuff. Basically just became the editor of the whole thing. Put this together, and when I was done, I had all that stuff out of me, and I had something to show for it. So this is what I did. This you don't usually get to do.
Applause. Don't have to be
That still gets me. to me still.
So they paid that $1,000 royalty for the music.
My news director was told about this by somebody that I'd shown it to. Had no intention of it going on the air. And he comes to me and says, let me see this story thing that you put together. And I'm thinking, this? Because this is not like what we normally do. And he looked at it. He wanted one shot changed that had a phone number in it. He said, change that shot and we'll air it. Whoa.
That's really great. I have a question,
Sure.
a technical. I've seen some of those shots in there when somebody is moving towards you and you seem to be gliding backward. Is that your,
You're zooming out.
you're just zooming
You
out?
zoom out.
Even the one earlier, an earlier clip, and it looked like the news, the reader, the personality was walking toward him, and she walked off to the side. He's just zooming out on that.
Yeah.
And he went back out.
Nope.
So
Stand
the
still.
illusion.
Anybody want to see any more? Got time? I'll play. One of the tricks you might want to look for, like in commercials and stuff, it goes back to Alfred Hitchcock, one of the greatest directors ever. If you watch the movie Vertigo enough times, you'll pick it out. There's a scene where Jimmy Stewart, who's afraid of heights, is up in this bell tower and he looks down at the stairwell, which, as it turns out, if you watch enough different things, find out it's a model. So the camera is not actually shooting down. Nowadays you could probably do it, but back then they didn't have the technology, so it was a model. What Hitchcock did with the camera was, he's got the camera, a certain fixed distance, okay? And he zooms out and pushes the camera in at the same time, so it's really an uneasy feeling. They do it in almost every show now. Almost every show, at some point in the show, they do that shot. It's become a cliche. It's kind of hard to figure out what I'm talking about unless you've seen Vertigo. But it's like he looks down and it's like everything's getting closer, but it's getting bigger at the same time. It's a real freaky kind of feel. It's kind of like I'm coming closer to you, but I'm getting further away at the same time. And you're like, how does he do that? You may subconsciously see it, but that's an exaggeration of
What you're doing.
yeah. Because if you come to me, what the cameras will do is as you zoom out, the focus between she and I stays the same, the back of it, in other words, where I'm standing. If I stay tight on her and she comes closer, I have to keep changing the front end of the focus. The back focus, where I am, stays the same. I probably lost most of you. But you usually think, you take a photograph, I focus on your face, and that's all there is to it. Well, a photograph is that one slice in space in front of your face. I'm shooting all the space between you and I. So I could do where I have you in focus, and I pull out, and I could be all out of focus by messing with the back focus on the lens. But if the back focus is set like it's supposed to be, everything between where I'm focused and me, if it comes to me, will be in focus. As long as I don't stay as tight as I can try and stay. But if I stay wide, everything will be in focus. Citizen Kane. Watch that movie. All those shots are almost all wide shots. It was the first movie, A, with ceilings, and B, if you got a good enough set, because it's a black and white movie, so you have to almost crank up the brightness a little bit to get some of the darkness out of it. Everything, in almost every shot is in focus. Like a room like this, for Orson Welles to walk from there over to here and be in focus in the 30s or whenever that was made was amazing. Nowadays, it's like, yeah, no big deal. That's why you watch these old movies and just go, ooh, how'd they do that?
This is home to the Sisters of Our Lady of Mount Carmel. There are 13 sisters here behind the walls, living a contemplative lifestyle established in the Middle Ages.
So that...
I just want to pause a second. What I tried to do on this one, you may or may not have noticed on that third shot with the overhead, you may not. Got this nice wide shot, this big dark area, and you're like, what's this dark area? And all of a sudden you see this little person walking. It's like, what's going on here? I'll back it up here a second. Got this shot, and all you're looking at this big black thing and then all of a sudden, there's a little bit of movement, which is supposed to catch your eye. This is not the way you watch TV at home, so. Back up here.
Nope.
There are 13 sisters here.
See, this is
behind
all
the
black,
walls,
and then, oh,
living a contemplative
supposed to
lifestyle
catch your eye.
established in the Middle Ages.
So that hermit life and that memory of Carmel, the mountain, is like in the psyche of every Carmelite in there today. The nuns have monasteries all over the world. I think there are, in every continent, there are 14,000 sisters around, and there
See everything in front's also in focus here?
Following the same ancient rule.
As their numbers decline, the Carmelite order has been looking for
Tiny
a way
little
to
slices
recruit
of that
new
down for
members.
the last
And
time.
they found it in the high-tech world of the internet with a website called PrayTheNews.com.
This is a very popular site. It's called Light a Candle. And people can click on this candle, and then they can submit a prayer, and then that candle that they click will be lit.
The sisters also offer a commentary on a range of social issues and global events. They even sell their own books online.
This is one of the ways we make our living, is through our books. This is one of the books that we are a small publishing company.
But the real innovation is marketing. By reaching out on the internet, they give young women a glimpse of life as a Carmelite.
It's exactly what it is. It's marketing. And we never dreamed that we would ever go into marketing, but we live in a world that responds to marketing. And so if we're going to be in this world, we take part in it.
In the past year, there have been thousands of online visitors from around the world and dozens of inquiries on the vocation, all because of an internet connection behind the walls to 8 centuries of spiritual history.
I don't know if everybody's into subtleties here. The sheet music, Lord, who's
It's a Carmelite.
love and
Exactly
humble
what it
service.
is.
I didn't find that. I didn't look that up. I don't know the hymn book that well. That's the one that happened to be out. But it worked perfectly where she's talking about trying to get young women to come and serve the Lord. And I had that shot before we even did this interview. So in the editing process, going back and forth, I'm like, wait a second, what does it say? This is perfect for here. It's subtle. I know it's there. Most people at home may not have noticed it. But it's little things you do for yourself
Dream that
sometimes.
ever
And hope that a
going to
viewer picked up on it. The roles in the computer monitor, these cameras have a shutter that you can try and set to get rid of the line. Well, she was using a Mac, and Macs you can't do that with. So I couldn't get rid of the computer line.
How much was that camera?
35,000.
Without these horses, this farm would not exist. The Schmucker family of northern Indiana's Allen County has 60 Belgians, beautiful animals which they breed and sell and work.
Hey, Peter.
Martin Schmucker has lived here since he got married in 1959. The Schmuckers are Amish, one of about 1,400 Amish families in a 20-mile radius.
Come on. Not quite as windy as it was yesterday. But it's colder, I think.
The Amish are hardworking, religious, and resourceful.
Whoa, whoa. Hey.
They make all their own clothing, most of their own tools and equipment. The Schmuckers are descendants of French and Swiss settlers. German is the family language, the first language for children who attend school only through the 8th grade. John and James are 2 of Martin Schmucker's 4 sons. In all, there are 15 family members who work on this farm.
Well, basically, we try to be a plain people, not. And
He never finishes his sentences.
I guess the New Testament pretty well tells you.
The Schmucker family tills
We went not,
250 acres,
you know,
120
proud.
acres in vegetables.
You're supposed to understand what
Like
he's
their
talking about.
Amish neighbors, they do it all with horses. In addition to horse breeding, the Schmucker family operates a large and very popular produce market.
The ground
Emmy.
or the property in this area
Little
is
Emmy.
very, very expensive. Ground is went. So back when we started, I was looking at something that I could make more dollars per acre, have less land, involve the whole family, and that type of thing. That was, we started out in, we started a little card table in 1965.
This is our winter kitchen.
For an outsider, this is a privileged look inside an Amish home. Spartan by any standard, there are no adornments, no family photos on the wall. The Amish don't believe in likenesses, and heat is provided by wood or coal.
Stoves right here in the winter time, so they'll hang all the little
Socks.
There are also no modern
Finish it.
appliances. Cooking is done on a 2-burner stove. The Amish say if you've never had electricity, you don't miss it. Surroundings to match the lifestyle, and a friendly manner that is almost design.
Do people expect you to be different from the way you are?
Yeah, we're just people like you.
The Amish are like us in many ways, except they've remained in a culture that has barely changed from the 17th century. They live a life of simplicity and grace along the back roads, like this. I'm Ray Rice, Wish TV News 8 with Indiana's own.
By the time Ray came to me and said, we're going in the house, I was exhausted. From the moment we got there, the very first shot, how the horses coming in the barn, from that time till he came and told me, you know, we're going to go in the house, it was about 2.5 hours, and I'd shot like 2 hours of tape in 2.5 hours. Non-stop. What's unique about this, if you don't know, is the Amish usually don't even let their faces be shown, much less this close. We just sort of lucked into as good a deal as we did here. We'd arranged to come up to this family, but we didn't know what the ground rules were going to be. So when Martin Schmucker came out and we introduced ourselves, and the guy who was supposed to be the go-between wasn't there, so just Ray and I talked with him directly, and I think Ray said something about, you know, we know we have to be quite a distance away and not show your faces, and Martin's like, what do you mean? We can show our faces. And I'm standing there starting to drool, you know. What? We can show your face? Yeah, no problem. I said, you know, like up close and everything? He says, yeah, as long as you don't make us, you know, stand and pose. See, their religion is a graven image, which to them is to stand and pose and have your picture taken. But to capture their activities, that wasn't considered a graven image to this family. So, being the photographer that I am, not being shy at all, as soon as he said, you know, we can be up close and stuff, I said, now there's this thing I have, it's called a wireless microphone. It's about the size of a cigarette pack, and this guy, the go-between, it showed up by then. And he was smoking, you know, like there wasn't enough time to get a cigarette finished. So I knew that Martin knew what a cigarette pack looked like. So I said, it's about the size of a pack of cigarettes, and if I can put it on somebody, I don't have to be very close to hear what either they're saying or is going on around them. And so, if you can imagine, there's this guy and Ray and I, kind of like this way, and there's Martin and his 2 sons making like a circle. So I'm, you know, I just finished explaining this to Martin. Now I'm Martin, and he turns and goes like this to his oldest son, John. You'll do it. No, but Dad, what if it was yes? And I knew it was like, okay, before they change their mind, go get this and hook this guy up. And the only thing that we staged, you know, like when I had the guy do this, they weren't going to go, they were at a point where they were in between needing to do anything in the field and harvesting, because they had harvested like tomatoes or whatnot a couple days before. So we're like, well, is there anything you could do today that maybe you were going to do tomorrow? And that's when they went out in the pumpkin patch. And they took the little kid with them. That was great, the little kid. The little kid sounds like he's Mike, but he's not. He's like the distance from you and I. Fortunately, there's no planes flying over or anything. The mics on these things are pretty doggone good. you don't have to have a wireless on somebody to pick it up. The reason when a little kid says, I can pick up that one, I go to the tight shot, is because I started to turn away from him because I wasn't really listening to what the kid was saying when I was shooting him. I was shooting him, and then something distracted me over here, and I went this way, so I had to cover it. But I had a close-up of something small, which is what he was referring to, that he could pick up a small pumpkin, gourd, or whatever it was. And in the scene in the tomatoes, that daughter, they had asked me not to show her face because she was under 15 or something. So that's why you never see the face of the girl who's cleaning up the tomatoes. It's like, you know, you want us to do it this way, fine. And just one more thing, and I'll open it up to any more questions. There's a real long pregnant pause going into the very first time you hear from Martin Schmucker with him and Ray sitting there. I left that in there because it took him that long with the scratching of the paper and that with his hand for him to come up with the answer. And I wanted the folks at home to get a feel for what this guy was really like. You know, a lot of times, and the mayor said, boom, 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 and we do it, you know, boom, 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 all close together. Well, this guy was real slow, not slow mentally, but slow in his delivery, real deliberate when he was thinking about things before he opened his mouth, so he wouldn't have to change what he said. So to me, it made perfect sense, because I'm back there watching Ray and Martin talk, that if I was sitting there as a viewer at home, had I been able to be there, this is exactly what I would have experienced. You know, Ray asked a question and Martin's sitting there kind of like, well, you know, we're simple people. We're not, you know, fill in the blank there. We're not proud. We're not arrogant, whatever. But he never finished his sentences. So it gives you kind of, that's just an insight. Is, you know, you guys are shooting videos. You don't have to have activity all the time. You don't have to have sound all the time. You know, you can have something where you've got music blaring for 30 seconds, and all you have to do is drop it out, have nothing for, you know, a half a second. And people will go like this, more so than listening to music, because you've all of a sudden you've done something different. Like, what was that? You know, why is there no music all of a sudden? Is what your mind is telling you. And then boom, you've hooked them back into the story. I did a lot of talking, I showed a lot of tape. Anything you guys want to know? I'm sorry, gal. Want to know or no? Yes.
Tell us about that Emmy. That is really impressive. They don't just hand those out easily.
No, Ray and I, you know, we were real pleased with that, and I entered it in the state photography contest. And the comments we kept getting back from the judges were, "How did you do this? How did you find these people? How did you get this close? Where are they? We want to go do a story on these people too, because the Amish where we live, we can't get to do this." So we were starting to sense that this piece was a little more special than even we realized it. So that was the first time I'd ever entered the Emmys. It was 1993, and we won. It was great. Not to brag, but to give you an idea that I'm not just, you know, magazine related and you know, kind of feature-y stories. I've got an Emmy for a spot news piece. Unfortunately, 2 kids died in a fire, but an Emmy for that. The first one was this one with Ray. Another one was for an investigative piece. What are the other 2 for? You remember? Well, yeah, one was, well, it's one investigative. I forget what the other 2 are.
Flowers and
2. Oh, 2. Okay, 2 were investigative pieces and something else. I don't remember. So they're in different. You know, we have what you call spot news. You know, like fires, explosions, 9/11. General news would be like after the tornado has come through the next day. That's a general news story. Sort of a planned event. You know, the mayor has a ribbon cutting. Magazine feature, which are the longer pieces, and then there's sports and documentary, which are like these but with a harder news angle, like the ones on the animals, or one on the Newcastle Mental Health Facility that you guys may or may not have seen a few years back, 5, 6 years ago. We beat out Dateline NBC on that one for a national Edward R. Murrow Award. That felt pretty cool. But, you know, if you're in it just to get pats on the back, this is not the field to go into. Usually it's, that story you did yesterday. That's what you'll hear the first couple of years you're working there. What do you think you're doing there? What do you mean? You know, you're not supposed to do it that way. It's not, you don't go into a television station and they say, okay, here's our guidebook of how we shoot things. It's, you go, you know, because you're supposed to know what you're doing, and then they may or may not tell you, hey, we don't do it this way. But there's a lot of freedom. I mean, you can see some of the stuff I've done. Probably my biggest complaint is editorial control when you cut something and it's 4 minutes and you get your heart and soul in it, and they go, well, we only take, you know, 2.5 minutes of that. And what you want to say is, well, drop something else and we'll, you know, leave this as it. No, we have to cut this, everything else has to stay. And you're sitting there going, why bother? You know, I spent 4 hours cutting this thing to make it 4 minutes, and I got to spend another hour and a half chopping it down to 2.5 minutes. What's the point? You know, you kind of, at that point, it's kind of like, you know, here's my masterpiece. Now you're going to cut it down to a 5x7. What's the point? You're only going to get the face. You're not going to get the whole thing of Mona Lisa. What's the point? But that, fortunately, doesn't happen every day. Usually, the reporter and photographer know you're going to have X amount of seconds to tell this story. You know, maybe you'll get an extra 5 or an extra 10, but if you can come in under, well, you know, if we tell you a minute and a half and you come under at a minute 15, that's okay. If you come in a minute 45, we got a problem. Unless the person right before you came in and said, oh, we only can get a minute 15 out of this, then everything's the same. You still have 3 minutes to fill. Or 3 minutes to fill. Cameras are $35,000. I think you asked me that. Tripod, I think, is about $15,000. Microphones, I think, start at about $400 a piece.
Buy it yourself.
I wouldn't be in the business if I had to buy it.
Do you have rollers for it?
No. These are not like the commercials and stuff. That commercial, I mean, that tripod being carbon fiber is too lightweight. If you start moving it with rollers, every vibration would show up in the camera. When they're doing dolly shots and stuff, they usually have tracks or, you know, air-filled wheels and a real heavy base and a tripod head, which is probably almost as big as the camera itself, that will help absorb every single little bounce that there might be in that. So the camera's almost floating. That's why when the guy invented the Steadicam, you know, it was like, ooh, we can move, and you don't see the movement. You don't have to have, you know, a dolly that you set up for 3 miles. It's got to be exactly level here and there and everything else. But if you see my truck outside, it's probably got $100,000 worth of stuff in it, between the tapes and batteries, cables and two-way radios and all that kind of stuff.
How long does the battery last? How long does the battery last?
These cameras with these batteries, I can shoot. If I shot like the story with Debbie, where I'm shooting like all day, I may have to change the battery once, so it'll be like a battery and a half. But the shorter pieces that are a minute and a half, I can shoot like 6 of those on the battery. And for a minute and a half story, I may shoot 30, 40 minutes of tape. Now that's actual tape time, but the camera may be on for an hour and a half, because you're not, you know, every time you stop the tape, you're not going to shut the camera off unless you're going like from here to the gym. You wouldn't turn the camera off to save the battery. You know, we're shooting everything in this room, so we might be doing an interview with you, and then in 15 minutes we're going to talk to teachers, you know, this teacher and this teacher. I'm not going to turn the camera off. But they're a lot better than the batteries for the cameras that we had before that were about like this. And if we got an hour out of them, we were lucky. So you're carrying, you know, all these extra batteries with you all the time. It wasn't much fun. Well, thanks for listening to me ramble on for 2 hours or whatever it's been.
Well, we just want to thank you for coming and giving
My
the
pleasure.
Really. So we appreciate your time so much.
Thank you.
It's been a good audience, and I know some of you have to
If you
leave.
think of anything, you know, that you want to know about, just pass it on through and I'll try and get an answer for you. There's extra pencils if anybody wants a second pencil.
You were talking about Ray and Ray Rice.
Yeah.
Which is Teresa Cameron.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Again, what?
Yeah.
Now Gary comes.
We're not.
Я там сидел, я просто слушал,
I tackled the whole place. What's happening?
не знаете, что я говорил.
All you guys.
Justin, пошли.
Пошли.
Ты не знаешь, что я говорил, да?
Okay.
Да, Jody.
You guys want to?